What's up everybody, Subaru fan here for another car review. This is of course the 2017 Subaru BRZ Series.Yellow. Huge thanks to Cory for providing me with this very bright yellow BRZ to review for you guys today. So about the Series.Yellow, well, these ones get the performance package, they're only manual here, and I gotta say, this yellow, in pictures I'm like, in person it actually looks really awesome, especially with the black accents, and he's got the windows tinted and stuff, so it really just pulls it all together and looks awesome. Really makes those front, the new front bumper pop too, with the black inserts you see there now, and you know, the little bit darker headlights as well, which are of course completely redone here, and to have LEDs much like the fog lights, and finally have the boomerang daytime running lights as well. And I just love the way that they restyled the front end here. On the sides you have everything is black accents, so you have the side mirrors here, you have the fender vents are all blacked out here and slightly restyled for 2017. Out back there you have the spoiler, which has the yellow accents along with the black pieces there, and it just looks really awesome. And especially now since this has the performance package on it, you got those bright red Brembos poking through these darker wheels that are a little bit wider here also for the performance package version. And overall it's just still a beautiful looking thing. The BRZs are always they've always looked good, and they continue to this day. As for the interior of the BRZ Series.Yellow, well, it's just as great as all the other 2017 BRZs. They really did a nice job of improving them here for 2017 in a lot of small ways. But anyway, first things first, sitting down in these seats, still the same awesome, perfect BRZ seats that they've always had, really. This one, of course, being the Series.Yellow, has the yellow stitching, the yellow accents here by the shoulders, and the embroidered BRZ badge there. But yeah, just really, you know, they're not the softest of seats, but they're comfortable enough for long drives that they don't really hurt your back or anything. But yet they still have awesome bolstering that holds you in all the right places to keep you in place in corners, and so overall just ideal seats. Next to the steering wheel in the BRZ, which is again very nice here on the BRZ Limited, they've added the buttons here for 2017, which correspond one with the gauge cluster and the other just for the audio controls and Bluetooth, things like that. And just a really great wheel. You know, it still has a perfect 9-3 grip. It's just a really nice wheel, not too thick, not too skinny, just right, really. And you'll see some of the cool custom touches that the owner has done here on the interior. And the one you see on the steering wheel here is this little piece that he painted gloss black and put the BRZ logo there, and looks really good. Like, Subaru should have done that. Other custom pieces, while we're talking about that, he has these very cool grip handles that are usually just the normal black plastic and gray, and so he nicely painted those black and yellow, and that just looks awesome. He also added the yellow trim rings around the vents, which really sets it off. Again, something Subaru should do. And then he also put a yellow ring here around the gear shifter, put Subaru BRZ again by the buttons here, and then even did a little carbon fiber piece around the heated seat controls. And so and then even says STI. So really, I mean, this interior is even better than how Subaru made it, and just really helps it to pop even more, make it feel even more special inside of here. Next to the gauges in the BRZ, which again for 2017 here gain a small little screen, which gives you some additional auxiliary gauges, gives you a G meter, which the owner informed me you're not able to actually use while you're driving. There also is a little torque, I guess a dynograph thing that's just catalog values. It's not real time actually measuring anything, but that will be displayed while you're driving, but not the G meter. But it is cool to review your G data after you're done driving, you know, if you're parked. Otherwise though, you know, the gauge fonts are very nice, all the same basic gauges you need, nothing you don't. They did make the digital speedometer a little bit smaller here in order to accommodate a digital fuel gauge now, which I kind of wish that still would have been as large as it was on the older BRZs, but still, you know, looks really good, and I think the gauges overall are a nice improvement. Coming over to the center of the dashboard here, you know, they made a slight improvement to the infotainment system here. It's still just a basic double DIN unit that, you know, looks okay, but there is no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Even though the 2017 Impreza has it, you don't get it in the 2017 BRZ Limited for whatever reason. But, you know, it does the basics, audio, Bluetooth streaming, does not have nav or anything, but, you know, most people just use their phone these days, so that's not a real big deal. But certainly could use some improvement there, you know, hopefully maybe for future model years. Coming down to the rest of the controls though, you know, you have your climate control knobs, which are nicely finished off here with this knurled aluminum finish, which is an upgrade over the previous plasticky, you know, climate control knobs in prior year BRZs. And so that is a really nice improvement, and this looks really good. Also, he painted the sides of this gloss black, as that would usually just be gray plastic too. So that really helps to make this feel a little more upscale. And otherwise, you know, all the same great switchgear that you're used to in other BRZs. As far as storage space in the BRZ, same as always. You have a bottle holder here in the door. Coming over to the center here, you have a little tiny cubby, and then that's where you also find your USB jack and auxiliary jack. Coming to the back, you have this very large space with two cup holders, a little slot for a key or cash in this case, and then you have a power outlet there. And so a very nice large usable space. I still wish there was, you know, a factory armrest somewhere, but I mean, it's not a big deal. And overall, you know, just still a pretty usable interior as far as storage space. They did a good job for being a sporty vehicle. Backseat space in the BRZ, like always, not very usable, you know, most of the time, but in a pinch for smaller people, it does work. But otherwise, it's just a nice parcel shelf, and good to have an option of a backseat though for whenever you do need it in a pinch. Trunk space in the BRZ is, you know, pretty good, standard size for a coupe for the most part. It's not as large as the trunks in the muscle cars or things like that, but this is a lot smaller, of course, and so that makes sense. And it's still plenty usable. You can still fit, you know, all your groceries in there with ease. And, you know, if you fold those rear seats down, because they do fold down, you can fit, you know, wheels and tires in these. Actually, it's a snug fit, but they do all fit in here. So you can, you know, take all your stuff for your track days and whatnot. So overall, pretty versatile and usable storage space there in the back too. All right, so start up and go for a drive. The BRZs here, all 2017 Subarus have this really nice new key fob. Has a nice weight to it, nice metal finishes. Anyway, of course, it's keyless entry, push button start, so you just leave the key in your pocket, hit the engine start button, and it starts right up. All right, so setting off in the 2017 BRZ here. Well, first thing you'll notice is the pretty good visibility you always have in BRZs. You know, you have a very large windshield that's very easy to see out. You have large side windows with a B-pillar that's pretty far back there. Although I do remember from my BRZ that I used to have, that sometimes changing lanes on the left-hand side here, sometimes that will be a blind spot, but it's not a big deal. And as long as you have your mirrors adjusted, usually most of the time it's not a problem. And then view out of the back is pretty good as well with these. And so you also have a nicer rearview mirror, I think, here with these new BRZs as well, which is a welcome improvement. And whenever you're just cruising along at low speeds as well, the ride is typical BRZ. Now this one, you know, obviously with the performance package has the SOX dampers or sacks, however you're supposed to say that. And so those dampers do make I think a little bit firmer, but it's just, honestly, it still feels very comfortable, very communicative though, in typical BRZ fashion. It just, you feel so much of what's going on the road, but not so much that it's jarring or annoying or anything like that. Another thing, this is a really easy car to drive manual on all BRZs, but especially here, you know, the newer 2017 one. This even seems a little easier than what I remember my BRZ being. So for those, you know, looking or trying to debate if they should get the manual or the automatic, even if you're new to manuals, I think this is an easy enough car to learn on. That'd be a great first manual for anyone trying to learn. Alrighty, so let's turn on to this back road here, see how it does. There we go. So the 2017 BRZs with the manual here have 205 horsepower, 5 more, and 5 more pound-feet of torque as well for 156 pound-feet of torque now. And you still do have the torque tip there, and you still do have that waiting period, but it's certainly much improved, I think. And you know, they actually improved the rear differential here in these, which is, I think, the biggest improvement. It went from 4.1 to 4.3, so that helps to make it a little bit shorter, and so I think it actually feels like it pulls a little quicker. It's a little more eager now, and we'll obviously be driving some more here to further test that out. But in first impressions here, it certainly does feel a little bit more punchy, and that's also thanks, you get that additional 5 horsepower, by the way, thanks to a revised intake manifold, which is now aluminum and nice and red looking, but then you also get a revised header setup that also helps to give you that additional power. Another thing about 2017 BRZs, and I noticed this even in the automatic review, is I think they made the induction note a little louder. So So this sounds louder than the prior BRZs from 2013 to 2016. So it definitely feels a little more aggressive and a little, it helps with the sound department, I think, and makes it a little more exciting as well. But yeah, I mean, the mid-range I think is much improved, because before you could stand on the gas in 3,000 RPMs and it wouldn't really go anywhere. This kind of actually shoves you in the back of your seat a little bit and really does feel like it gets up and moving better than before. And I mean, throttle response is another thing that is a hallmark of these BRZs. It's just so razor sharp, and I mean, the second you even go into it a little bit, it immediately responds. And this isn't in any special driving mode, this is just normal. And that's the way it should be for an enthusiast car. It's just great. All right, so coming up some tighter corners here, let's see how this revised damper setup and the improvements here of the 2017 help the BRZ. I used to take my old BRZ on these roads all the time, and you can also tell this thing has those new Brembos, but wow, first the handling it's definitely more buttoned down for sure. My car would get loose on these corners, and this thing is even more buttoned down. I mean, obviously these have always been lightweight and always very sharp, but this is really nicely improved. I can tell a big difference here. It's, wow, yeah, they did a really good job. It's so much, I mean, before it was always very flat. Like, again, normal BRZs handle really well, but this, there's just even more grip. And the most amazing part about having that additional grip is the tires aren't any wider. They're still the same 215 wide, Michelin Primacy tires that are far from sporty in any way. And so it's just, it's just impressive that it just has so much more grip. Now, they did say that the spring rate in the back is 10% softer now, which is what helps to keep it more planted here and a little less tail happy. But because see, I mean, my car would have gotten sideways right there, and I just went full throttle out of that corner, and it just hunkers down and goes. So really, really impressed here with this. It's oh man, it all takes a few minutes for it to feel like it fits you like a glove. Really, I think the BRZ is probably the best handling thing you can buy under $60,000. I think I haven't driven a new Cayman, but honestly, this might even feel lighter than that. It's just really, really impressive. But yes, another thing, getting back to those brakes. Now, this with the performance package here, you have 4-piston Brembos up front and 2-piston Brembos in the rear, and they're the same brake size and the same brake rotor size as the WRX STI. So those brakes do a plenty good job hauling down a WRX STI. So you can only imagine putting those brakes on a car that's way lighter, way less powerful, means that you are always going to have sufficient braking power in any circumstance. On the track, you're not going to have any fade. It's just going to be, this car, just the brakes, they didn't mess around with this time, and so you cannot beat the brake setup on this. And the amazing thing is this performance package here that you get is only about $1,200 in addition to a standard BRZ Limited. And so for $1,200, I mean, I'd take that all day. I mean, $1,200 is nothing to pay just for the brakes alone, but then to have all the other improvements you get, it's just really a no-brainer, I think. See, even there, it doesn't want to get sideways too much. It's funny, but it still is very playful feeling, but it's just not quite the drift monster that the older BRZs were. But that's okay. You can always, swap the sway bars or the springs to get that back if you really want it. But I think this is an improvement in just about every way. I mean, it's just so much more poised now, and you can really tell. And I mean, I could tell in the automatic a little bit, but I mean, I think the manual here, especially the performance package, like I said, with those dampers now and everything else, and just the way that they engineered these changes, it's just really impressive. And like I said, I've driven these corners many, many times in my old BRZ, and this is where I can really tell the difference. And the difference is really, they did a great job with the new engineering on these. Yeah, and the more that I'm bringing this thing out, it really sounds good. Like, it actually sounds good now. Before it was a more industrial kind of gritty sound, but it almost has a sweeter tone to it now too that I really like. But going around some more corners here. Now, okay, it still gets a little floated there whenever you're mid-corner. So it still does have that playful attitude. You still have to be on your toes a little bit better, but yeah, no, you can really carve up a back road, and that word I used to use loosely, but this, it actually is like a scalpel. I mean, there's very few cars that are more fun to take down a back road than this. But I mean, even like this corner is decreasing radius, and that's where it gets a little sideways, but it still keeps you in line. So it still is fun, and you know, you still only have so much grip with 215 wide tires, and that's an easy thing to fix if you want more. But you know, it allows you, and that's one other thing that's highlighted, is like the old BRZ, that same corner, it did that same exact thing, but it would snap immediately and try and ring you back in. This, it actually let me go with the slide for a little bit there, and it works with you, which is a nice and welcome thing, versus, you know, the old one where it just, all right, time to pull back on the throttle. This, it actually lets you work through the slide there, and so that's makes it feel a lot more natural as well. But yeah, I'm gonna drive around a little while longer here, and I'll come back and give you my final thoughts. Alright, so driving a little bit more here, one thing that I noticed on the back roads was that the body definitely feels a little more rigid, and the whole chassis and everything just feels like there was less flex. Not that, again, the BRZ had tons of flex before, but this just, it feels a little bit better, and again, that just adds to the poise that I felt, you know, on the tighter corners. And then even now, you know, out on the highway here, it even feels a little more poised, like it's a little more hunkered down, and you know, just kind of hugs the road a little bit better than before. And you also, with that 5 additional pound-feet of torque, have a little more power here. Now again, the power isn't huge, but I think that it helps it to scoot a little bit better in 6th gear, and then, you know, whenever you go to the lower gears, it really just does sing still. I love the way that this thing sounds with this new intake. A little cool here. Listen to that. It sounds a little better. I really like the way they did that. 2 other quick things to mention here before I go. The first is that the steering is, I think, a little bit sharper on turn-in, and it feels a little bit better. I mean, the weight is about the same as before, and the feel is about the same. It just feels a little quicker, and I don't know, it just feels a little bit better for whatever reason, especially whenever you're just, you know, doing normal corners at lower speeds and things like that. But as you can hear, anytime that the road gets a little rougher, if you're on imperfect pavement, I think that this actually might have a little more road noise than the previous BRZs, which, I mean, again, this is a lightweight car, so it's not going to have tons of sound deadening like other heavier offerings, but it's certainly, I think, a little more pronounced. I think that might be part of, you know, you hear more of the engine, you feel everything a little bit more, and I think they just kind of took away a tiny bit of that refinement, but it's not a big deal. Again, if, you know, you're constantly on rough roads, then maybe it'll get a little bit loud over a while, but honestly, I don't think it's a big deal. And then once you're back on smooth roads like this, it's completely fine. So just something worth mentioning here that I felt was a little more apparent than it was in the past on other BRZs. But yeah, like I said, either way, not a big deal, and I think that the lightweightness is worth whatever you do here in the cabin here. Overall though, I mean, I'm glad I was able to experience one of the manual BRZs here with these improvements they made to the power and also the performance package improvements. Definitely, I think the performance package is a no-brainer, and overall it's just a really, really well put together car. This, I would consider the 27 BRZ with a performance package as BRZ perfected. That's what it is. It still is the same ethos, you know, it's not any faster, really, you know, it's just every little thing that needed improving, they improved upon, and really just made it an even better package than it already was. And a lot of things that people wanted to fix in the aftermarket, now you don't have to. You just get right out of the box from Subaru, warranted, ready to go. And so, yeah, really, really an impressive thing here. So anyway, huge thanks once again to Cory for allowing me to review his awesome Series.Yellow BRZ here. It's a blast, and it's really, really impressive, I gotta say. So yeah, if you're looking for something fun to take around corners, you're not gonna find anything better than this, even remotely close to this price. It's just so good. And so yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.